My latest major project is a campaign desk, and it's going to have these crossed legs in it. I have roughed out this side, but now I need to do some fine work, and when I went to get my chisels, I realized that they weren't as sharp as they need to be. And so I'm going to take a minute and just look at sharpening here. You know, not too long ago, this little AT&T Samsung phone, it's not even a flip phone, it was state of the art. I think I moved to a flip phone then, and now have an iPhone 7, and even it's obsolete. Now there's an 8 and a 10. But sharpening has done the same thing over the years. When I was a youngster, you craved to have an Arkansas sharpening stone, and you could tell how hard they were by the color they were. This one is a rough one, you can feel that, and they have a lot more density. This was one time white, which means it's medium, and this was the black one. This is what you can put on a fine hone with. They're small because that's all I could afford at the time, and that was state of the art. And then the only difference between these, and they're still completely usable, and today, the diamond wheels or the diamond stones, it's just time. And in our world, we are pressed for time. I also have just some plain oil stones, one for my gouges, a little sharp one there. For that, use honing oil, Smith's honing oil. I bet this can is 30 years old, maybe 40 years old. The Arkansas stones I accumulated in high school. I remember buying this one. This was like a $15 stone at the time, which for me might as well have been 100. That's why it's so small. Really hard to hone with this. Then in the 80s, I know I spent $150, $200 on water stones. This was the rough one. I don't remember exactly what the grit is. This is the smoother, and it's 4,000 or 6,000 grit, something crazy like that. Problem with water stones is that they are soft, and you lubricate them with water and flatten them once in a while. And then I think I got these at Harbor Freight or at a woodworking show in Atlanta. They're supposed to be diamond stones, and of course they are on this little plastic thing, and the glue came off right away. That's why they're clipped on here like this. But these were state of the art at one time. And now we have diamond stones. This is my trend, and I went to the Atlanta woodworking show this last spring specifically to get one of these. This my daughter Laura gave to me, a little honer with it's really fine, but it's for gouges and it's diamond coated. 600 mesh. I don't think this side's coated at all. This side is 600 mesh. For this you have to use lapping fluid, and the man was very specific. Don't use anything but lapping fluid on my trend. So this is a $100 stone again, and I'm going to start. This chisel is not in that bad a shape, so I think I'm going to start on the 1,000 side and see what I do. I'm still going to mark it like I would if I were sharpening a gouge on for my lathe. And that's a whole nother learning curve, trying to sharpen lathe tools. I had a real hard time with this learning curve, and I still don't feel like I'm a very good sharpener. But I remember specifically in Scouts, I had an assignment to sharpen a pocket knife. And I worked and worked and worked on that, and never did get it as sharp as the Scoutmaster wanted me to get it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're always trying to look for the new and latest and greatest thing to sharpen with, because I think sharpening comes difficult to most of us. I mean, not everybody's a Roy Underhill. I know I watched Roy Underhill, and I'm just amazed at how sharp his tools are. And I wished he would do, he's probably done an episode on it, but we don't get it very often. At any rate, I have measured the angle on my chisels here, and all of them are at 30 degrees. It's not hard to get this. This is a $5 tool. a little general manufacturing stainless steel. And on my honing guide here, it says that it needs to be, to get 30 degrees, 1.5 inches from the edge. So I'm gonna move that 1.5 inches from the edge. I have found that if I did not tighten it down like this, it will quickly go out of square. And then in fact I am going to check to make sure it's squared. And that is good. All right, on the 1000 grit side, just a couple of drops of lapping fluid. This honing guide is not my favorite honing guide, but I've had it a long time. It's got a very small wheel on it, so you can tip it pretty easily, and it doesn't hold my plane iron. My plane iron is too short for it. So if I can find a honing guide, I'm gonna buy it. The man at the woodworking show said just light finger pressure, and that's all I'm putting on here right now. I'm really worried to death about wearing out a spot on this. He assured me that that wasn't going to be a problem. All right, that should be enough to see if I'm on the angle. I'm not bad. I'm not bad. I kind of putting a micro bevel on it right now, but I'm going to bring that bevel back a little bit further. Well, it doesn't take long to put a nice new bevel on that. I didn't go to the back side first because it's got a pretty good, I've leveled it before. What I'm going to do now though is switch over to my 4000 or 6000 grit, whatever that is, and it'll really pop a mirror finish on here. Quite a difference in just a few strokes. That is ready. That's ready to attack some white oak. Well, I've got everything out here. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen a few more chisels. I've got this set of handyman's chisels, Stanley handyman's chisels. I inherited from my grandfather. He had not used them very much. This one had a chip in it, but I have sharpened it recently and got the chip out of it. But I looked these up online, and there's a Popular Mechanics 1961 ad for these. There were 4 for $6, I think. Maybe a little bit more. I only have 3 of them. I have an inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1/4 inch, and the 1/4 inch doesn't fit in my honing guide either, so I have to do that by hand. But while I've got everything out, I'm going to go ahead and sharpen these. I love working with old vintage tools like this. It's got some great steel in it. Chucked up here in the honing guide, I'm going to put a micro bevel on it. A micro bevel is just simply a little sharper bevel right at the end. And to accomplish that, I'm going to use 2 hotel keys and put my honing guide on that. I'm going to rest my honing guide on the keys and just give a few short strokes here. And by raising up the back, I'm putting a little micro bevel on the front, and with the good steel that's in this tool, it will actually sharpen it quite a bit more, and it'll keep there for quite a while. Now, I polished this with my 4000 grit stone, and you can see where the 1000 grit right there on the micro bevel. But man, that thing is sharp. I think I'll take it out now, polish the back a little bit to get off this burr. There's just an ever so slight burr there. I could hone it on a leather strop, but I think just polishing it on my water stone is going to do the trick. That's nice. You might be thinking, why didn't I put the bevel, micro bevel on with this? I don't know. Probably should have. Well, I freshly sharpened this chisel, and now I'm going to pare away the waste here. And I'm just going to start taking small chunks.